Something certainly seems to be working because people are wising up about the reality of owning an EV, and they're avoiding them like the plague. In Australia, Europe and the US, sales are flatlining and in many places declining. As it says in one of the articles we'll look at today, the demand is simply not matching what the mandates require. EVs definitely went through a purple patch a few years ago when the relentless government propaganda was enough to brainwash some poor folk into ponying up their hard-earned cash for one of these boat anchors, only for them to discover they couldn't charge at home, or the public chargers were slow and expensive, it couldn't tow enough for long enough, and if it hadn't burned down their house by then, you could literally hear it depreciating in front of you. But car buyers are getting smarter. They realise that EVs are expensive, inconvenient and impractical, and they'd rather hang on to their gas cars for longer than be bullied into buying something they don't want. I think we're winning. Welcome back to MGUY, British engineer and lawyer, now Sydney-based YouTuber. Be sure to follow me on the usual socials for more content, links in the description, and if you haven't already, just click that subscribe button down below so you don't miss out on any future videos. And if you'd like to make a small contribution to this channel, why not buy me a coffee? Click the link in the description or scan the QR code on screen. Look, to be serious for a minute, all I want is for people to have a choice. An EV might be a great option for some people, those who have off-street parking, a short commute, and usually, and most importantly, a bloody great diesel truck parked next to it in the driveway, for emergencies of course. Good for them if it is. But to mandate battery EVs for everyone is the kind of ridiculous decision only a government could make. Firstly, here in Australia, where the Driven tried earlier to pin all the blame on Elon Musk's support for Donald Trump for the downturn. Today it's much more realistic, admitting that there are more structural problems with the EV push than just one personality. Australian EV sales crash in January despite ongoing price war. EV sales in Australia have gotten off to a shaky start in 2025, with January witnessing a sharp drop in new car sales, partially due to a significant fall in EV leader Tesla's sales, but also to a broader drop in vehicle appetite, despite recent price cuts. The latest data from the Federal Chamber of Automotive Industries, FCAI, and Electric Vehicle Council, EVC, shows that just 3,832 battery electric vehicles were sold in Australia in January, a share of only 4.4%. The overall market also saw a decline, with total vehicle sales landing at 87,625 compared to 99,666 in the month prior. In January 2024, EVs made up 5.5% of the market, highlighting the scale of the decline in 2025. As per previous months, the data was separated with two suppliers. The FCAI shared 3,011 EVs, and those supplied by the Electric Vehicle Council 821 from Tesla and Polestar. And despite the government pushing for pure EVs, the market wants otherwise. While sales of full battery electric cars fell, sales of hybrids and plug-in hybrid vehicles continued to grow and now make up nearly 1 in 5 of new sales, representing 7.1% and 2.2% of sales respectively. FCAI CEO Tony Webber said the fall in EV sales is a major concern because consumers are turning away from EVs at the time the Commonwealth Government has introduced the new Vehicle Efficiency Standard, NVES. The industry continues to increase the range of zero and low emission vehicles, providing consumers with an increased choice of models and varying price points, he said in a statement. However, the government needs to reconsider the steps it can take to build consumer confidence in EVs, otherwise their ambitious NVES targets will not be met. Well, of course they won't be met, it's just pure fantasy to imagine they possibly would. But hey, Chris Bowen's got his head in a cloud of unicorn farts for most of the day, so what do you expect? In California, where there are more gullible EV buyers per square kilometre than anywhere else on the planet, the story is just as dire. EV demand stalls out in California as automakers face zero-emission sales mandate. Demand for new electric vehicles has flattened in California, new sales figures show, raising questions as to whether automobile manufacturers can meet ambitious state mandates for zero-emission vehicle sales. Aside from Tesla, which sells only EVs, no other major manufacturer will meet the state's 35% threshold for zero-emission vehicles in the upcoming 2026 model year, said Brian Mass, president of the California New Car Dealers Association. The data don't lie, Mass said. The demand doesn't match what the mandate requires. It's just that simple. New sales figures from the dealers' trade group show 387,368 zero-emission vehicles were registered in California in 2024, or roughly 1 out of 4 new cars sold. Even so, that represents just a 1% increase over previous year's figures, when EV sales soared 46%. Total California new car sales for 2024 were also flat at 1.75 million vehicles. There are potentially severe implications for automakers. Failing to meet the 35% mandate, according to Mass, means either paying penalties of $20,000 for every non-compliant vehicle sold, or restricting gasoline and diesel-powered vehicle inventory in California so the percentage can be met. And as it says, the only option the manufacturers will have is to restrict the sale of their profitable gas cars in order to meet the unachievable targets. And of course, the faceless bureaucrats in that basket case of a state still do their best to confuse the messaging. The California Energy Commission said it remains committed to helping transform the market and confident in our ability to deliver cleaner air to all Californians. But it's not about cleaner air, is it? Modern petrol and diesel engines are marvels of engineering, producing almost nothing in the way of pollutants compared to what they did just a few decades ago. No, it's about reducing carbon dioxide, a harmless trace gas which every plant on Earth needs in order to grow, in order to save the planet from man-made climate change. Never mind, let's just mix it all up so the public doesn't notice. And in France, Tesla sales are dans la toilette, as they say. Tesla sales plunged 63% in EU's second biggest EV market. Company registered only 1,141 new cars in France in January. Automaker underperformed overall industry and EV segment. Tesla Inc. registrations plummeted 63% last month in France, the European Union's second biggest market for battery electric vehicles. The manufacturer registered only 1,141 cars in January, the fewest since August 2022, according to French industry association La Plateforme Automobile. Tesla underperformed the overall industry and total EV sales, which dipped 6.2% and 0.5% respectively. And of course they think this is all to do with Elon getting political, which is ridiculous, but it's a better option than admitting the truth, which is that the EV bubble has well and truly burst. Tesla registrations across EU countries fell 13% last year, with Germany, the bloc's largest market, accounting for much of the decline. The EV maker has struggled in the country due to an ageing model lineup, increasing competition and the withdrawal of government subsidies in late 2023. Tesla's sales plummeted 41% last year in Germany, while overall battery electric vehicle sales declined 27%. The Federal Motor Transport Authority is scheduled to report January results on Wednesday. Well, the lunacy of this situation is that automakers are being forced to make EVs that nobody wants and must limit the production of gas cars which people do want. They find themselves in an unenviable dilemma. Either way, they're going to lose. Even if the entire United States got rid of its gas fleet overnight, it wouldn't make an iota of difference to the climate. It would all get swallowed up in an instant by the emissions of China and India. And Australia's even more insignificant. So yeah, it's called net zero madness for a reason. But there's only so long that governments, no matter how stubborn, can stand idly by and watch entire chunks of their manufacturing industry disappear in pursuit of this unachievable goal of net zero. Eventually something will have to give, that's for sure. It certainly seems that the gloss of EVs has well and truly worn off. The public refuse to have the wool pulled over their eyes, and they're thinking carefully whether buying an EV makes sense for what they need in terms of convenience, practicality and cost. And unfortunately for the bureaucrats pushing the EV agenda, the answer to that question is, most of the time, a hard no.